What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday, March 22nd, 2026. Welcome to Try's World. I'm kind of recording every week now instead of every day or every other day. Just during the week is tough for me. Posting towards the evening, I think I get views or whatever, but I need to, use that time to spend on my business, or really that's it, and or prepare for the next day. So I'm not going to be posting like midweek anymore. It's too tough for me. It's too disjointed with my schedule that I'm used to, which is complete and total focus. And I'm doing this, I just feel like it's a good thing to have this podcast to get views out there from a certain perspective. But I got a lot of views on my Cesar Chavez post. I got a couple subscribers from that last week, so that's all good. And I'm mainly going to focus on posting to YouTube right now because it just seems to be getting, Facebook I'm getting a lot of traction too, or followers. It's just Facebook I have a lot of, we'll see, I don't know yet. But YouTube, it's just, it takes time to post to all these different platforms. TikTok is different than YouTube, is different from Facebook, and it's all different. And so is Instagram. And so I think I have to focus somewhere, and maybe I'll post my link every now and then or a clip or something like that to Facebook, because I'm looking at the views on Facebook, and there's not a lot of folks tuning in for like a long period of time. So, and neither are they on YouTube necessarily. They're mainly focused on my shorts. And so, I'm just doing whatever seems to work and whatever seems to be interesting to folks and go from there. And again, it's just part of this is documenting what I do on a day-to-day basis. I've been working on business taxes and all that, and personal taxes as well. Business taxes, depending on how you set it up, flow to your personal. For those of you who don't know, there are many deductions that you can take as a business and that you cannot take as a salaried worker, such as home office deductions, things of that nature. Like, this is my home office, for example. A portion of expenses that I have here are deductible. So, but it has to be used exclusively for business. And so that's the whole shtick there. And yeah, there's been a lot of stuff in the news. Congratulations to the WNBA players who just got a new contract. There are going to be a lot of newly minted millionaires in the WNBA. Well deserved, because it's like, how can you be so? And I think it's well deserved. I think the lowest average salary is going to be like $500,000. It's like a 4x jump in salary for these women. And to me, it makes sense. When you see them on TV, there's a certain aura about that. And there's a certain amount of eyeballs on that. And when you find out that Caitlin Clark, she made her rookie contract was $80,000, a little less than that, it doesn't seem right because she's such an iconic person. You pull her rookie card in a pack of cards and people get excited about it. You could watch videos on this. People are screaming, and I pulled Caitlin Clark. I get excited if I see a Caitlin Clark rookie card, so she's become that valuable. To where she's a collector. Her autograph is worth something. Her rookie cards are worth a lot if you look at it. And so it should justify it. It should be on par with a lot of other athletes who are creating that type of buzz. So I'm glad to see the WNBA season going to get started and the players getting compensated the way they're supposed to be. I have a story. I used to play, I used to play a lot of basketball, and I remember, and this is good advice for any women who are practicing basketball and wanting to improve their skills and things of that nature. I think this is like an open secret now. Like, Caitlin Clark used to play with men. I remember a lot of the Notre Dame women would go to the open gym and play with the guys, and they were good. I think they ended up beating us. But it was a tough competition. Still, I think, and if you're especially if you're a shooter like Caitlin Clark is, you're gonna get points, because as long as you're open and you can hit the open shot, it's tough to guard somebody with a really, really good jump shot, no matter your gender. So it was. I remember playing with the Notre Dame women, and that's how they got better. And a lot of apparently other programs do that now. So, or maybe they've been doing it and that's the secret sauce. How do you I guess, up your skills or improve. You play with people and sometimes, men who could be faster, stronger, and that type of thing than what you're used to. And so it makes you step up your game, I guess. And I'm telling you, it was a good competition though. I mean, I think the women's team pretty much consistently won. Sometimes they would lose though. I mean, it's just they're playing with a bunch of guys, and so, but they were good. I remember they were good, and I part of I think Caitlin Clark's draw is I think most people envision her in at least me. If I saw her in open gym, I'm like, yeah, she's probably gonna get buckets, So that's why it's fun watching her because she's hitting from the logo, she's doing Steph Curry type stuff. And she's really dominant, so it's fun to watch her, and I'm glad that the Caitlin Clark effect, and well, it's on the backs of a lot of women who went to the WNBA. I mean, Sacramento used to have the Mountain Monarchs, and they'd win all the time. And I know those women never got paid what they were probably generating in terms of interest and all that, but it's through their sacrifice many, many years. Everybody's saying Caitlin Clark, but many times it takes a while for that to ramp up. And so I think there was many before Caitlin Clark that built that foundation and that ultimately allowed for the Caitlin Clarks to come along and really, really take it to that next level. So, but I like watching Caitlin Clark play because of that reason. I feel like she bought a lot of people up, including guys in open gym or wherever else, just because she's got such a great jumper, so such a great J. I think she's got, she's tall, she's got nice handles and stuff like that. So congrats on the women's team. In other news, markets continue to do what markets do, and I think people are continuing to worry about, there's a lot of angst, obviously, a lot of posturing still, and a lot of people are feeling like this is going to be a protracted type war. But I guess the president also was like, yeah, we see ourselves winding down, and I think the market after close increased because of it, but then over the weekend there's been some more bombings, stuff like that. And as I said at the beginning of this conflict, it's tough to predict where things are going to go, and equities it was already tough to find really, really nice priced stocks. Now you're finding more. I mean, like I said, if you bought something that you feel is undervalued and it's gone down, as if you couldn't tell already, I have sort of a stock picker analysis and then a passive analysis. My passive analysis continues to be the same. It's really easy. Just continue to ignore the fluctuations and stick with the plan. The stock picking strategy is somewhat similar in terms of long-term thinking, but as I've been saying in my podcast since the beginning of this conflict and the year, really, we've had 3 years of 20% plus returns. I think this is one of those years that the easy money stops being made, and I've said that, and I'll say it again, and people forget what it's like to have negative equity returns, which is not in anybody's cards, really. And so it's always a possibility, and it's a distinct possibility, especially with stocks the way they are, and in the past as well. So I'm just always shocked when people forget that aspect of stocks. And so that's why I'm just like, I don't know. Too much easy money has been made, and too many people are too overconfident in their ability to do this. I know it's not that easy. I know it's really, really difficult. And so, I think the tricky thing about my business, and that's why I started this podcast too, at least that's where I've kind of evolved it, is it's not only about markets and equities and things of that nature on a daily basis. It is also about, got these bees building some weird stuff, but I gotta knock down. It's not only about equities, it's not only about picking stocks and things of that nature. When starting an investment management business, like I have, it's been, I guess, started on August 2023, it's now the beginning of 2026, more or less. So I've been running for about, 2.5 years. It took me a few months or many months to even set up, and so it's been maybe 3 years or something like that. And I think that a very underestimated part of doing it is running it as a business and treating it like a business. I see it as no different from a regular job. I think it's actually, and I've said it before, I think it's much tougher than a regular job, because in a regular job you've got everything built out for you. You have a role, you have a support staff, you have all these people who do all these things depending on the size of your company. I had always worked at very large companies, so a very underestimated part of starting a business is how much you end up having to take on or how much was already being done by all these support staff. Now, there's an upside to it in that, if you do well, things obviously accrue to you, and it can be very rewarding for yourself and your investors. And so that is the challenging part of what I think, aside from the regular mistakes in investing you can make, it is the everyday running of a business, the controlling of expenses, the time involved, the effort involved, the level of detail involved, the compliance, a lot of the back office type stuff that you need to lock down. It'll all catch up with you. And I've always appreciated that because I had always done that as a support person because I worked in support. Well, I guess they call it a portfolio management associate, and I was a senior associate, and I ultimately became a portfolio manager myself. But the point is, when you're on those lower rungs and you're just starting off, all you're doing is compliance. All you're doing is keeping the compliance issues at bay so that portfolio managers can focus on managing money and meeting clients. So I've always had a healthy appreciation, because if that isn't taken care of, then the portfolio managers aren't going to fly very far. And you want the PMs to fly. And then depending, if you are a PM, let's just say you have to have that support staff. Sometimes you don't have the support staff, and you end up having to do a lot of that stuff yourself anyways. I'm all about delegation, but sometimes you delegate and it's not done correctly, or it's not done the way you want. And, just depending on your working relationship with the support staff and what they're strong at and what they're weak at, that's what you want to assign them. It could be brand new people who have never heard of a stock or a bond in their lives. So it can vary, it can range on how much help you are getting. And it's wise and so that's why I think that fundamental starting off experience in money management was really helpful, like really being in the weeds and stuff like that. But it's still, running a business is a whole nother aspect of it. And I've had experience with that as well, with some of my real estate experience in the past, and some of my entrepreneurial experience in the past. And so a lot of it isn't new, at least to me. A lot of it is new, but I'm talking about just from an investment standpoint. I think a lot of portfolio managers who are maybe good at investing might struggle if they started their own business because of everything else that's involved aside from just managing money. For me, I like learning about it all and doing it all, although it takes up a lot of time and it takes an incredible amount of focus. So that's what I would say. I'm still working on taxes and receipts and expenses and things like that. It's a lot. That's the best way I can say it. I like hanging out. I like doing a lot of things, but I'm also realizing this is not a regular. It takes everything to keep it going. It takes up a lot. And so I can't have regular vacations. I can't have regular times off and things of that nature, regular weekends like a lot of people do. And it's just the nature of things. And again, I think a lot of people, this is why I started this, is so folks can understand. They don't understand the money management business. They may understand other businesses if they are entrepreneurs. And I was a small business banker, or a business banker is what they call it now, for a long time. So I've met a lot of business owners, and please trust me when I say this business and investment business is completely different than any other business that most people have been exposed to. But I've helped real estate companies, I've helped dental offices, I've helped medical offices, and all this stuff. It's a different game, and it takes a lot of effort because, again, you can scale up quite a bit and not need a lot of additional staff. In fact, you probably shouldn't have a lot of additional staff, because at least not at the beginning. That's the best way to say it. So, and then, with the expenses, I like to go back to, is that coffee really worth it? Because that $1 or $4, it could be 16 to 30 times that in 30 years. So $5 coffee is like $150 in future dollars potentially. Every expenditure today could be multiples of that in the future. And so that's how you got to think of your expenses. And if you're running a business, every dollar that you spend is a dollar that could be helped to support your business. And so that's how you got to think of it as a business owner. And so if calamity strikes, for whatever reason, you have to think of that scenario. You really have to think of like worst case scenarios. And whatever projections you had, I guess they call them sensitivity analysis. And they do it for banks, they do it for a whole bunch of people. a whole bunch of industries and businesses. But imagine a scenario where, stocks are not doing well for many years. I mean, it happens. So that's the mentality that I think folks should have, or business owners should have, and especially in the investment industry. On the, I guess, political side, I guess Joe Kent, a high-level counterterrorism official, resigned, and he was like, there was no imminent threat, and the excuses changed by day. There's hyphy videos that the administration's playing to hype people up. Some are saying there's maybe troops on the ground. The president says he's not putting troops anywhere. He's saying one thing and ramping up on the other. So nobody really knows what's happening. I don't think you should bet based on that. You shouldn't change your strategy based on what you think is going to happen, because some are saying it'll be stretched out, some are saying it may not happen, who knows? I mean, you have to think long term. But what is unsettling is all the celebrating of people's deaths. I guess that's happening now. And the president is doing it, which is unprecedented in terms of how embarrassing that is. And then, of course, President Barack Obama posted a much more somber note on Mueller's death. I think what the president is showing is he's not above what he sees on Twitter and Threads, because I'm seeing stuff on Threads that, when the president was out of the public eye for a while, people were hoping that the worst on him. That's the best way to say it, which I'm not a fan of, obviously. I actually don't know what the difference between that and what I don't, and it just was flooding Threads, and I don't know. I don't know. That's really toeing the line, in my view. And it's just, it's the state that we're in. We got one side, but I mean, for the president to then take it upon himself to see that's great that somebody died is just, I feel bad for Robert Mueller's family that they had to live through this age. And I think part of it is it's so ridiculous that it attracts attention, and that's exactly what it's designed to do, to keep someone who's not relevant. I mean, literally, by the end of this year, a lot of his agenda is going to not work. So I think he's doing anything to fight against that and fight against time. And I think people would be best to stay positive, ignore it, and vote. And that's what I would say. I mean, just continue to, stay patient. I mean, I think that's the best way to put it. And I'm not going to sit here and act like some people and think that the more violent I act, the more violent I talk, the better off I am. I just think it's a completely false persona that I think the president he has no war experience. He has no military experience whatsoever. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So he doesn't feel it in his bones like people with military experience or who have lived through terrible wars understand. I don't have military experience, but a lot of my family does. And I think I've said it before. I mean, I've never met, some of my uncles have died in war. Most of my uncles have fought in wars. One's been taken a prisoner of war, and people forget. And so for an entire generation of people who survived that war, the Vietnam War, they were obviously disgusted and frightened by the prospect of war because they've seen it. They've seen the destruction and the absolute depravity of humanity that can go on in war. And we have a president that has no concept of that. And so he's constantly with other people who have no concept of it. I mean, I don't know if even Hegseth can claim that he's had legit war experience. I mean, what did they go to? I guess if you consider Iraq a war, the war against terrorism, I guess. You got a whole generation that really doesn't understand what they're doing or what they're talking about. And it's unfortunate. So we're here. And what are we going to do? The Pope recently called for peace. I mean, I think that's what most people want and would want to see. And peace is not weak, and I think there's conflated claims that Iran, obviously a lot of Iran is not peaceful, but the imminent threat thing, been a lot of stories that don't make sense. I mean, there were missile campaigns that knocked out Iran's nuclear capability, supposedly, and then all of a sudden the attack was because they were about to be nuclear again or something. You want to give the administration the benefit of the doubt, but they've lied on so many occasions, and they've misplayed their hand on so many occasions that they're losing credibility and nobody trusts them. Nobody believes them. So they're having to play these hype videos, and do propaganda and do weird stuff. Essentially, like nothing that Americans have been used to ever in our history. I don't think in a good way. I mean, white supremacy for a long time has been discouraged. It's been fought against. I mean, and now it's a lot. I mean, how else does a Steve Bannon become so influential on an administration? You've just got elements on the right, although they're not part of the administration, like the Laura Loomers and all that, they still influence the administration. Laura Loomer has said all types of racist stuff, and she's now become a part of the press corps. I mean, I think it's obviously concerning, and the hope is that we take steps forward, because we definitely taken a step back. That's for sure. So, I mean, I'm still very, very hopeful and bullish on America. We just haven't seen a time like this in a while, and you've only read about it, you've only theorized about it, you've seen it in the past, you're like, oh, that's horrible. And I talked to someone the other day that's like, all that stuff's coming back. This is not what made America great. America moved past this, and that's what made America great. Us moving back like this, going to war for no reason, expensive wars, shutting down TSA, going out and arresting American citizens on the streets and murdering people. This is not America. This is some other vision that voters can put to a stop in the midterms. So remember all of it. Keep your composure. Obviously, the pressure is working. Obviously, helped the resignation of Kristi Noem. Well, the firing of Kristi Noem, and so on and so forth. So I think I'm encouraged to see a lot of resistance, from all over, and people are absolutely exercising their right to protest. And what people did in Minnesota to fight against DHS and a lot of terrorizing of that community by ICE, what they did to stand up for themselves, I think was pretty heroic, and set the nation on a much better path. I mean, because that could happen, and it's still happening in many communities. But Mike Bovino was fired, Kristi Noem was fired, and we couldn't have imagined that 2 or 3 weeks ago. This is a very stubborn, very old person in charge, and so to see any change is just shocking. So, but it's also a positive sign. But yeah, I mean, so that's a recap for the week. It was a Fanatics flag football game, and everybody's I think on these podcasts talking about, is it harder to score 2 points than you're talking about how hard is it to can a regular person get a yard in the NFL? That's fair enough, but I will say this. I think it's really hard for the regular person to score a bucket in an NBA game. I don't think it would happen. I think a regular person could not score a bucket in an NBA game. And I don't know why that's not talked about, but I think that's just as hard. And then you got Mookie Betts like, yeah, it's impossible to hit a ball. It's the hardest thing to do in any sport. And it probably is. But I'm saying, if we're talking about just regular people, can a regular person go out and hit a baseball? Probably not. But can a regular person go out and hit a bucket? I don't think so. I mean, the regular person is 5'9", going out there with no dribbling skills, can't make a layup, can't shoot the ball. How are they supposed to score 2 points or a bucket? Hopefully they get fouled, aside from getting fouled at the free throw line, but even then they got to make a free throw. So yeah, I don't know why that's not talked about enough. Like, how hard is it for the regular person to make a jump shot or score in an NBA game? And I think most people wouldn't be able to. Yeah, I just wrapping up the week. Those are my notes. Thanks for tuning in to Try's World. Thanks all.